crumbling landmasses, and inland seas, sea monsters, sharks, and blood-red plankton, forests of ferns, warm, moist, tropical breezes, and who can forget the dinosaurs, birds, and rodents? This was the Jurassic period. The Jurassic period is the second of three periods of the Mosaic era, following the Triassic period, 201.3 million to 145 million years ago. The name Jurassic comes from the Jura Mountains, which is part of the Swiss Alps in France. This is where rocks of this age were first studied. They were first identified as Jura limestone in 1799 by Alexander von Humboldt, and later termed the Terrains Jurassiques by Alexander, excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, Ronnier. Jurassic rocks have now been found on every continent. The Jurassic was a time of significant global change in continental configurations, oceanographic patterns, and biological systems. During this time, the supercontinent of Pangaea split apart. Pangaea had begun forming in the Devonian 400 million years ago and lasted through the Triassic until it finally split. By the Middle and Late Jurassic, enough plate movement had occurred to separate South America from Southern Africa. Laurasia, which consisted of North America and Eurasia, also moved away from Africa and South America. This helped to create the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Volcanic activity was common along these rifting continental margins. At the same time, Eurasia, Europe and Asia, moved to the south. Sea level gradually rose during the Jurassic period, creating seaways in North America and Europe. The end result was a world with many more separate land masses and more coastline than the period of the Triassic. During the early Jurassic, animals and plants living both on land and in the seas recovered from one of the largest mass extinctions in Earth history. Many groups of vertebrate and invertebrate organisms important in the modern world made their first appearance during this time. Life was especially diverse in the oceans. The rising sea levels flooded many of the continental interiors, creating warm, shallow water environments where marine animals and plants could thrive. There were thriving reef ecosystems, large swimming predators, including reptiles. On land, birds made their first appearance. Early mammals were also present, though fairly insignificant. Insect populations were diverse, and plants dominated by the naked seed plants. And then there are those dinosaurs. We often think of the Jurassic period as being the age of the dinosaurs. I mean, we've all seen Jurassic Park. The truth is, in the early Jurassic, many dinosaurs were very similar to their Triassic relatives. It wasn't until the late Jurassic that the long-necked and long-tailed herbivores ruled the land. Some of the largest Jurassic dinosaurs may have reached lengths of 120 feet and weights of 60 tons. By this time, nearly every major kind of dinosaur had appeared, and they were found on every continent. Many of these dinosaurs were collected from the Morrison Formation, a thick formation of mud, silt, and sand that was deposited in western North America about 150 years ago by a large braided river system running across much of the central part of the continent. The Morrison Formation covers an area greater than 1.5 million square kilometers in the western United States. It became famous due to an intense competition between two American paleontologists, which started in 1877. Professor Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope were fierce rivals that strove to significantly outdo one another by discovering and describing new fossil organisms. The feud was known amongst paleontologists as the Bone Wars. These wars continued until Cope's death in 1897. Marsh had described 75 new dinosaur species, of which only 19 are valid today. Cope had described 55 new species of dinosaurs, of which only 9 are valid. These wars had a tremendous impact on paleontology and helped to fuel explorations worldwide. The first knowledge of birds was 146 million years ago, when a fossil containing unmistakable imprints of feathers was found. It is believed that the birds had evolved from theropod dinosaurs and actually deserved to be in the dinosaur family tree. Although the first bird represents a remarkable evolutionary event, the Jurassic skies truly belonged to the pterosaurs. These flying reptiles had evolved in the Triassic, but by now were very diverse. They live on every continent and were far more common than birds. The most common is known as the pterodactyl. Jurassic climates can be reconstructed from the analysis of fossil and sediment distribution. Fossils of warm, adapted plants suggesting an expanded tropical zone. Ferns and other frost-sensitive plants indicate that there was a less severe temperature difference between the equator and the poles than exists today. Large salt deposits dating from the Jurassic represent areas of high aridity, while extensive coal deposits suggest areas of high precipitation. It is thought that on the western side of Pangaea was an arid belt, while it was more humid on the east side. The Jurassic period ended with a minor extinction. This event affected both marine and terrestrial life. The primary victims included marine invertebrates and dinosaurs. Many marine crocodile would not survive into the Cretaceous period. Among terrestrial organisms, most known dinosaurs went extinct. Strangely, plants were not so badly affected. Climate change, dropping sea levels, volcanic eruptions, and even asteroid impact have all been blamed for this loss of life. There is still no exact evidence of the cause of this event.